I hereby call the Standing Committee on Finance for Monday, March 16, 2020, 7 p.m. to order. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, councilors, and our invited guests. Good evening, Honorable Mayor. I'm just going to read something right before we start our meeting. So, out of respect for public health and in response to the governor's declared state of emergency, this meeting will be closed to the public, and interested parties can instead access the deliberations via live stream, which is at www.youtube.com/user/TheBrocktonChannels/live. This meeting is being held in accordance with Governor Charlie Baker's signed open meeting law order dated March 12, 2020, which relieves a public body from the requirements of Section 20 of Chapter 30A that it conduct its meetings in a public place that is open and physically accessible to the public, provided that the public body makes provisions to ensure public access to the deliberations of the public body for interested members of the public through adequate alternative means. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read agenda item number 1.
Ordered, acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $70,000 from Executive Office of Health and Human Services, Fiscal Year 20, Safe and Successful Youth Initiative Grant to Police Department, Fiscal Year 20, Safe and Successful Youth Initiative Grant Fund. Invited, Honorable Mayor Robert Sullivan, or designee, Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer, Emmanuel Gomes, Chief of Police.
Good evening, Madam President, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. I have Chief Gomes here. I also have, of course, the CFO. Let me see here. Again, this does focus on violence prevention and intervention, $70,000 grant. I will let the chief or Troy opine on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Clarkson. Thank you for being here this evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. As I noted to you in the email that I sent over the weekend, this is a grant from the Office of Health and Human Services. It focuses on youth violence prevention and intervention, and the link did provide some details on the grant, and so this is it's something we've had before, and it's a good program.
I make a motion for favor recommendation.
Second. On the motion.
On the motion, Councilor Thompson.
Mr. Clarkson or Chief, could you, the target group, could you define the target group? Like, who is this targeting?
Council, the target group, one of these, has to do with youthful offenders, and we tend to target youths that are gang-related or maybe headed that way. It's a specific age group that kind of moves a little bit with different areas of the city, but that's what it's the initial and the intent focuses on.
Great. And so the street outreach, who is that conducted by?
That's conducted by usually a lot of plainclothes work. With that, it also links into some other outreach things that we do. We also do some home visits, and we deal with some parents and guardians, things of that nature, along with juvenile probation. So we try to bring everything to the table and address it in the best fashion.
Okay. It talks about behavioral health. Now, are those services that are provided to the target group, or is this training for the different officers who are involved in this program?
That's usually services. That would be another target group that we also address. We have some behavioral management
That would
issues.
accompany along and...
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And it also spoke about tiered employment. What is that?
Tiered employment is a much lesser item on this. The tiered employment has to do with some of the divisions of work that go into that outreach. Not everyone is a police officer. Some people are social workers and some other people in the community that do outreach.
Okay, so this is tiered employment as to the outreach and not the target group being employed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, understood. And just lastly, so it states that the grant term was July of 19 to June of 2020. So if this grant is accepted, that spending will be done from this date up until July, or does this June? Or is this, all that spending or this whole program is going to be executed between now and the end of the fiscal year, or has this already been going over and this is reimbursement, or?
This is a multi-layered thing that we've had in place actually for years now, and this is just a process for us to continue doing the outreach that we do in the state from time to time, refunds or replenishes that number for us, and we keep the matter going.
So this program has been continuing over a multi-year period, and this is just another release of the expenditure to keep the program continuing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, understood. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Chief. No more questions.
Councilor Castro?
Thank you. Good evening, Chief. Thank you for being here. I just wanted to throw in a 2 cents to your comments addressing Councilor Thompson, because I had the opportunity to speak with Michelle St. James this afternoon about this, who is terrific. And she tells me that this $70,000 that's in front of us this evening, it's in addition to $430,000 that we've already received. She thought we approved it last summer. She mentioned that the police are involved because they refer young adults into the program, and this is for the young adults are between 17 and 24. She said right now there are 73 on a list to be reached at different places, and that the criteria is they're known for violence or drugs, or they're a gang member, or they've participated in gang activity. I think this is a terrific program. I'm so glad that we have it here in Brockton.
Thank you, and I can add that, without this assistance, we wouldn't be able to do some of the things that we do. And the items that you outlined in there specifies exactly the things that are beyond the borders that we would be able to do. And that's why these things are important, just to keep it going forward. And this has been going on for years, and we wouldn't be able to do it any other way.
And we are having results. We're having positive results, and that's why we receive more funds to keep it going, is what I understand.
Well, that's true, Counselor, but one thing in police work sometimes, we can never put a number on the crimes that weren't committed.
That's right.
Or the people that weren't arrested because they turned their lives around, or they didn't become part of what we do. I'm actually proud of the kids that I never get to meet. There's a plus in that. So in a lot of these programs, there are hidden numbers, which is we can't put a number on the crimes that weren't committed into people's lives that weren't altered to the bad. So these are all pluses.
Yes, and on the idea of youth hiring, as I understand it, we're trying to give these young adults a chance to be employed because there are impediments, there are criminal records and all that, to employing them. So we're trying to give them a little bit of employment history to get them going on their way. So that's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Councilor Cardoso.
Hi, Chief. Thanks for being here. So to that, thank you, Councilor Castro, for that information. I got some of that similar information from Michelle. I would say maybe highlight a little more about what the impact is in the community with these grants that we're voting on here. I feel like a lot of times we're not showcasing the impact. Like you said, you can't put a number on it, but you can, let folks know that these are the programs that are available and this is what, because you do have to do some reporting when you write for these grants.
Right.
So it would be, to me, I would advise that the police department or whoever's in charge of these grants show the community what the impact has been, or maybe show some of that reporting that you do. I think that that's important.
Counsel, I concur with you 1,000%, and I think a few weeks ago I came before you and I explained that there was a misnomer that Michelle wouldn't come before this body under a previous administration. That's a falsehood. She's ready, willing, and able to do that, and I just would welcome a resolve to invite her, and she'll give all the updates. But I agree with you. We need to market it in a better way, more informative and more beneficial, because they're doing great things with those grants. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Good. All set, Councilors? A motion's been made and properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The order passes favorably back to the full city council. Number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordered, acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $13,048.20 from Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, EOPSS, Massachusetts Bulletproof Vest Program Grant Award, to Police Department, Massachusetts Bulletproof Vest Program Grant Fund. Invited Honorable Mayor Robert Sullivan, or designee, Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer, Emmanuel Gomes, Chief of Police.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. For those that have served a long time, this is an annual grant relative to the bulletproof vests that the police officers utilize in their practice. Any questions the chief is happy to answer.
Motion to recommend favorable.
Second.
A motion's been made and properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The order carries favorably back to the full city council. Madam Clerk, number 3.
Ordered, acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $60,000 from Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, EOHED, to Mayor's Office. Invited Honorable Mayor Robert Sullivan, or designee, Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer, Paul Umano, Financial Analyst.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, Paul unfortunately wasn't able to join us tonight, but he did give me a cheat sheet. So this $60,000 grant in funding is a collaboration with Massasoit and Mass Hire, and it will recruit and provide IT accreditations for participants in case management career services for those that achieve said accreditation. Additionally, students have access to child care services relative to this $60,000 grant.
Any questions, councilors? Councilor Thompson?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, I know I was hoping Paul was here so I could ask him a few of these questions, but generally, this grant speaks to population totals. It's one of their requirements for us to inform them. So is this 60,000 determined upon census data?
You know, I couldn't opine on that, but what I could do is I could, if you, whatever the vote of the committee is back to the council, I'll have Paul reach out and do a letter of explanation. Unfortunately, he had something at last minute. I apologize. I just
No
don't
problem.
know that answer. I don't want to misspeak, Counselor.
Madam President, Madam Chairwoman, I'll just reserve my questions and I'll send them to Paul directly. So.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Counselor.
Counselor.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Motion to recommend favorably. Second.
A motion's been made and properly seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? The order goes back favorably back to the full city council. Thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk, number 4.
Ordered that the City Council authorize a proposed tax increment financing agreement between the City of Brockton and New Westgate Mall, LLC. Invited Honorable Mayor Robert Sullivan, or designee, Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer, John O'Donnell, Chairman of Board of Assessors, Attorney John Twonging, Attorney Robert Creedon.
Councilors, I did receive a call from New Westgate Mall LLC asking if we can postpone this
Make a motion to
matter,
postpone to the next finance meeting.
which is in the beginning of the first Monday in April. So a motion's been made and properly seconded to postpone this item to the next finance meeting. All those in favor? All those opposed? Or the motion, that it's postponed. The order is postponed till next FinCom. Madam Clerk, so that's in April. That's the first Monday in April.
Okay.
Number 5.
Resolve that the President of Brockton Community Access Board appear before the City Council to give an update on BCA's progress. Invited Joe Miranda, President of Brockton Community Access Board.
So this item as well, I have learned that Mr. Miranda is out of the country. So as of this moment, I will entertain a motion to have this
Motion
postponed.
to postpone until the next finance committee meeting.
Second.
A motion's been made to postpone and properly seconded. All those in favor of postponing? All those opposed? The matter's postponed to the first finance meeting in April. Okay. So, councilors, that's it for our agenda. We do have, I know the mayor's here this evening. He did have a press conference earlier today, and he would like to address everybody with the same subject that he had during his press conference.
Thank
Good
you,
evening.
Madam President. I do want to thank you for attending that press conference. I also want to thank you and the clerk for opening up the council chambers yesterday. There was a special school committee meeting relative to the free lunch program. And again, Governor Baker has now extended the school closure till April 7th. But I just want to be clear, there is one confirmed case of coronavirus here in the city of Brockton. It has been confirmed. Don't know any other details other than that. John McGarry, in his capacity, has also confirmed that. But I just want to inform you, the Brockton Enterprise has reached out, and I did confirm that as well. We knew it was coming. And those such as Tina that is medically trained, I mean, we have to get ahead of the curve right now. So I did declare a state of emergency here, local emergency here in the city of Brockton. I did give you a press release, but I could just give you some of the synopsis. Today, as the mayor of Brockton, I declared a state of emergency in the city. Upon advice of the city's emergency management director and the other public safety and health officials, I've determined that the coronavirus COVID-19 poses a present and reasonable imminent danger to public safety, health, and the general welfare of the people and property of the city of Brockton. This declaration will allow our municipal government to access state and federal resources to better serve the community. It will allow us to coordinate municipal services, equipment, supplies, and facilities. In addition to this state of emergency, I'm closing the Council on Aging and all branches of the Brockton Public Library effective immediately until further notice. All permits for the use of city facilities are hereby suspended. DW Field Golf Course is also closed until further notice. Cancellation again of schools is extended to April 7th. While City Hall and other city buildings will remain open, they will be restricted to essential services, and all non-essential city meetings are canceled through March 30th. In accordance with the revised open meeting law, I'm strongly encouraging for essential government meetings to be held virtually, and I know the council president shares that view. In addition, I'm encouraging all residents to conduct as much business as possible through the city's website, brockton.ma.us. Convenience fees will be waived for all online payments and transactions. For residents who must come here to City Hall, only one entrance will be open as of tomorrow morning, the basement handicap entrance, and business will be limited to a certain number of customers at a time per the governor's declaration of last evening. I apologize for any inconvenience, but the health and safety of city employees and all city residents is my top priority. I encourage all of you to follow the protocols recommended by the CDC. Wash your hands, keep 6 feet of social distance between yourself and others. If you feel sick or have flu-like symptoms, kindly contact your primary care physician, your doctor, and self-isolate in your home. As a city and community, we must take this health crisis seriously. We need to follow the recommendation of the healthcare professionals and the order again issued last night by Governor Charlie Baker. I fully understand the business community is greatly affected by the governor's orders. However, please be aware that Lieutenant Governor Polito contacted me today and informed me that a small business emergency loan fund of $10 million was approved just today. The process for applying for said loan is through the state's COVID-19 website. It will be posted later this evening. Today, councilors, I had a conference call with the CEOs and presidents of hospitals in the city, Sue Joss from the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center, all nursing homes in Brockton, rest homes in Brockton, and assisted public facilities in Brockton, those serving the senior citizens, homeless service providers, and all business leaders, Montello, Downtown, Campello, and the Chamber of Commerce. I also met in my office with Tom Tebow, Executive Director of the Housing Authority, and Mike Lambert, the Administrator of BAT, Brockton Area Transit. I'm going to continue to have these calls, these discussions, and meetings to keep the community and the general public aware and on the same page. I'm going to keep the citizens updated on a regular basis. I've been taping regular PSA announcements that are on Facebook. Website is being regular updated as well. Please follow the city on Facebook and check the city's website for said updates. I do want to publicly thank the Superintendent of Schools, Mike Thomas, Shirley Azak, City Council President, Police Chief, Fire Chief, Director of BEMA, Health Officer, Mr. McGarry of Board of Health, Department Heads, City Council, School Committee, and my team in the Mayor's Office for your support and guidance during this unprecedented health crisis. But let's take this a serious, serious issue, so let's take it seriously and treat it that way. I ask that you please stay in and around your home and with your family when possible. I drove by the Edgar Playground yesterday in Ward 2. There was 50 kids playing ball. That's not what the process is right now. We need to keep, it was actually brought down to 10 a little while ago. So again, I just want to thank you. I'm here to give you the information, and I'll answer any questions that I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Monahan?
Councilor
Mr.
Monahan.
Mayor, thank you. So as far as inspections and what have you, are we done with that right now? Just going to have business in City Hall? There won't be like home inspections or smoke inspections, things
No,
like?
we had a department head meeting today for 2 hours. We are going to have, some people call it a staggered crew, a skeleton crew. Department heads are going to be here. In terms of what the fire chief thought and Deputy Chief Marchetti thought, we have to treat some of them case by case, but they're not actively going in. DPW is not actively going in for final water readings, but it is case by case. We have to protect, of course, the residents and the employees. So again, it is case by case. It's fluid. It's changing hour by hour. But that was what we talked about this morning at the 9 to 11 o'clock meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor.
Councilor Thompson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You briefly spoke about your conversations with Brockton Hospital and the area hospitals. Could you speak about their preparedness for this outbreak? How many beds do they have available? Respirators? Are you confident that our medical facilities can handle the capacity that they might have to in the next few weeks?
I am. Based upon set numbers. We don't know how exponentially this is going to increase. The fact that there's one, I suspect there's going to be more, a lot more. What I will say is I spoke with Kim Holland, President, and his Chief of ER, Dr. Umano, Ken Lawson, Chief of ER at Good Sam, Sue Joss and her team in Neighborhood Health Center. Someone from VA wasn't able to make the call today. I'm confident they've put some protocols in place. And having sat on a hospital board for over 12 years, I'm confident, but it's the unknown, Counselor. It's a scary proposition. What I will tell you is I reached out to Congressman Lynch this weekend and also Senator Markey, and I am asking for more disinfectant solutions for the city, more masks, more gloves. But every municipality, city and town in the Commonwealth is doing the same. But Steve Hook is the director of BEMA. I charged him to do that, so we put in a request. But I will tell you, the hospitals, the nursing homes, the housing authority, they're all looking for the same thing that the city is looking for. People are utilizing it properly, but we're running out. But when I hung up that call today, I felt better than when I made the call. But I did tell them it's not a one-off, so we have scheduled 3 calls per week with the hospital. My calls with the nursing homes, it's going to be twice a week. Mary Waldron also from OCPC was on that call. Visiting Nurses Association was on that. Tony Simonelli from BAMSI. We had quite a few people on there. What I said was, listen, we roll up the sleeves and we have to tackle this together as a collaborative approach. Competition in business, put that aside. This is talking about people's lives. In terms of the most vulnerable, the seniors, that's why Janice Fitzgerald supported my closing of the Council on Aging. Now, with Mr. Tebow coming before me, Tom has some grave concerns as well. It's a vulnerable population, and in essence, it's in one confined area. He used it almost like the proposition of a cruise ship. The only thing is when you cruise ship, other people can't get onto the cruise ship, right? You're out to sea. It's different when you can walk in a 45 guarded way. But Tom is going to continue conversation with me. We're in this, it's a partnership. Even though it's not a city agency, it's city residents that we all represent. So to answer your question, I feel confident, but that confidence can change minute by minute. But I do know that Mr. McGarry, who again I notified you on Friday, was chosen and by myself. I asked him, and I'm glad he said yes. As a registered nurse, he's the right person right now. He was on DPH calls today, CDC calls. The fact that there is one confirmed case in Brockton is scary, but we have to, as elected officials, right, is to make sure that we calm the panic, but also realize that we have to practice what we preach. And I'll give you a quick story. When I gave my press conference today at the end, I thanked John, and habit as I shook his hand. It's just habit. And we all have to break those habits, right? And that's what we need to do. So
Now, thank you, Mr. Mayor. What about the testing? I know that's been an issue throughout the country, having the requisite amount of testing. Did they make any mention of their supply of testing kits?
They didn't give me a hard number. Maybe that's because they are in competition. But what they did say is testing's good, Sam. Testing is at Signature Brockton Hospital. Neighborhood Health Center is also doing testing. They're sending it out. Quest is looking at it right now. Sue Joss had indicated to me that they're actually sending it out of state right now. We have to see if we can fix that. That's why I have Senator Markey and the Congressman trying to help us on that. But worst case scenario, if we needed to do streamlined testing, we already have that in place at Brockton High School. It's the EDS system, and former mayor would know this as well. It would be a drive-up type of thing that they're doing on the West Coast. Steve Hook and I have already outlined it, much like what the superintendent of the schools has outlined for the lunch pickups as well. It would be, you drive in and do that. We're not there yet. The congressman asked if I need the National Guard to assist on that. If we get to that point and we have enough testing to do that, we can utilize that. We will utilize that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor.
Council Cardoso.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the hard work yourself and the superintendent and everyone else is doing to help bring this information to us. I'm really concerned about the elderly, and I was going to ask some similar questions as Councilor Thompson about the hospitals. What are we doing to keep the elderly from conjugating? Are they now restricted to their rooms, or do you have any sense of how we're managing?
Yeah, great question, because I asked the same questions. I could tell you right now, at the nursing homes in Brockton, there could be no visitors unless the resident/patient is gravely ill and will be expiring soon. Then loved ones can go say their final goodbyes. In terms of the hospital, this is on the other side, not the seniors, newborn babies. If there's a mom that just gave birth, they can only designate one person and one person only to come and visit. It couldn't be the dad coming and then the dad leaving and then the mother-in-law. It's one person, that's it. In terms of the seniors, what the Housing Authority is contemplating right now, and Tom will give me an update tomorrow, is to close the lunch sessions that they have down there. But we need to figure out best practice moving forward. My recommendation was the community centers that are at the low rises, Kennedy and Earl and Hawley, those should be closed. One of them has direct access, though, to the washer dryer. So it's a slippery slope, but I really felt that everybody was on the same page, all the nursing homes, the hospitals. Housing Authority, again, the mass amount of the population is seniors, right? And that seems to be the ones that are actually expiring because of this. So we need to figure out best practices. In terms of the masks, we are running low. That's a fact. And in terms of sanitation, solution, Mr. Tebow is running low as well.
Okay, and also in those housing complexes, do they have folks that are translating information for the residents in different languages?
I asked that same question,
Because I know Cape
Counselor.
Verdeans love to hug and kiss.
Yeah.
So I think, doing some education around not hugging and kissing, it's so hard for them not to do that, especially the elderly.
Yeah, no, and we talked about, I didn't specifically talk about the hug and kiss, but we talked about how to educate everybody in multiple languages. My office is talking about that on a regular basis as well. Mr. Tebow, is going to give me another update tomorrow, but I do know different ethnic cultures act differently, right? The Irish, we hardly even shake hands, right, Mr. Cruz? But I concur with it. Yeah, yeah. What is that? No, but I concur with that. And I'll be blunt. We need to do better. We need to do better, and we have to make sure that the education is there for everybody. But it is going to get a lot worse. I'm not sugarcoating. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
And one more question
Sure.
about the businesses. How are we enforcing that, the closures?
So right now, as you know, through the governor's mandate, you cannot consume drink or beverages as of tomorrow. The 17th is when it kicks in. Tonight's the last night. Takeout is not excluded. You can do takeout. We talked about that with the chief this morning, how we're going to do that. I will be pretty honest with you. I don't think we're going to have the manpower to do that quite a bit, because the thing is this. If someone is infected or contains the virus and we put Brockton PD officer to go in there to make sure that they bring it back to the station, it could be a real bad situation. I do think we need to get a better clarity. I will publicly thank Hank Tattaglia, who's the chairman of the License Commission, upon himself. I didn't urge him to do this. He had the law department send out, I had talked about it at the department heads meeting this morning. I had asked to do it, but Hank had already done it as the chairman. To every licensed establishment in the city of Brockton, they get a copy of the governor's order, in the ABCC declaration as well. We need to figure it out. We need to figure it out. I'll give you an example. I went to get a coffee at Elvira's today, and she's going to close because she doesn't need to close, but she's going to close because she said people aren't going to come in there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All set, Councilor Castro.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for being here. I'm focusing on your words and your press release, which talked about non-essential meetings are canceled through March 30th. And I noticed on my way into the building this evening, there's a posted sign that the License Commission's meeting on Thursday night has been canceled. I mean, we have a subcommittee meeting for the City Council Real Estate Group coming up on Wednesday. What are you doing about boards and commissions and that stuff?
So, good question. So we're really, in the Council President, we've been meeting on a regular basis. She's been great. Thank you, Council President. We really have to attempt to stress why the open meeting law was revised, right? There was a purpose why Baker and Polito did that. It was to try to make sure people call in remotely. Tomorrow night, there's a subcommittee of the school committee. I spoke to the Vice Chair and Superintendent Thomas. That's what we're doing. Council President offered to let us use this. No, we're going to call in. ZBA and Planning Board, the next meetings are not until April. We have to see, but we have to think worst-case scenario. Now, as a lawyer, you know there's certain hearings under Mass General Law, it's time-sensitive. And what I asked the Law Department today is if there is any mandated time-sensitive, where if you don't act, it's a tacit approval. But what you could do is applicant's attorney and city attorney can mutually agree to extend, and that would toll it. That would put a hold on the time limit. So Megan and Karen and Aileen and Brittany are working on that right now. I only think that there's one. I would humbly ask, and I do know that the council from Ward 1 was going to have something to Hancock School. Schools are closed. There can be no meeting because schools are closed. But really, the urgency is to try to minimize mass exposures, right? And try to utilize best practices with the open meeting law.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All set, Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Mayor, welcome to your first 100 days.
We had a blackout, we had a major water break, and now we have a pandemic.
My question to you...
Only get better.
It is. It's going to get better.
It will.
The public safety personnel, you know, I know we're going Corona 1,000%, deservingly so, but we still have other issues that actually do take place in our community. People are still having heart attacks. People are still requiring medical care and treatment. Unfortunately, bad guys are still acting as bad guys in the community. Drugs are being sold, bought, and that kind of stuff. And our public safety personnel has to respond to these calls when they come in. Do we have enough protection, or in terms of protecting the officers and the firefighters when they're responding to these calls?
I would say at this time we do. And again, it's a fluid situation. Government can't stop, right? That's why City Hall's not closed. Police and fire can't stop. DPW, if there's a main water break again, maintenance people have to fix it. In terms of safety precautions for our public safety officials, I had a meeting with all the deputy chiefs and Chief Williams and Bill Hill from the local 144 last Friday for about 45 minutes just to talk about that, Mr. Mayor, just to figure out how to react in a way, first of all, that's going to protect our employees and also be able to react in a positive way to life-saving precautions. The chief can opine on his crew, but we talked about it this morning, same thing. One thing that we are contemplating, we're not there yet. I want to clear, we're not there yet. We might be able to do one-offs, you know, in terms of having 6 firefighters report to a scene. There's thought that, and again, we're not there, so don't, please, I'm just giving you best case and worst case. We might be able to cut that number and have some still stay at the station. But I just want to publicly say that regardless of this health crisis and this serious thing, law enforcement and fire department safety personnel are out there ready, willing, and able every minute to save lives and protect and serve, and they're going to continue to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And nurses.
And PAs, too, or I can't go home if I don't say that.
We also have a couple adult daycare in the community. They're not really hospitals. They're not nursing homes. They're like, a daycare for, more senior populations that we have. Have you had any conversations with any of them, do you know?
I haven't, they weren't on the call today. Thank you for saying that. I mean, there's Cape Verdean that I've been to, Haitian, there's been quite a few of them. I'll call Mr. McGarry when I leave here and see if we can dial them up tomorrow, because I concur with you. And again, what the counselor said about, hugging and kissing, I've witnessed it 1,000 times, a million times.
Yeah.
So absolutely, thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good luck to all of us
We'll get
in
through
this
it.
particular
We'll
issue.
get through it, we will.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
It's a test of leadership for all of us. We'll
Madam
get it
Chair,
done.
just one last question.
Okay, any other councilors have any questions before I go back to Councilor Thompson? No. Councilor Thompson?
Councilor Rodriguez brought up the issue of adult daycare. I got a question earlier in the day regarding daycares for children. I know they're not covered under the Brockton public school system, but do you know what's the status of regular daycares? Are they mandatory closed, or?
No, they're not mandatory closed, but I will tell you, John McGarry, I charged him to reach out to several of them today. One that's actually in Councilor Yanieri's ward on West Chestnut that's affiliated with the Y, and John reached out to that. Again, we're expressing best practices, safety mechanisms. They understand it. Vinnie Monterano has texted me, CEO of the Executive Director of the YMCA. It's a situation where we can kind of control through communication, but ultimately we're not going in there right now at this time and counting, like how many kids you hear. We may get there. I think if we look at the last 24 hours, so we have the president, declared a national, right? Yesterday the governor, last night the governor, now we're doing a local. There's reasons why we're doing that. I also have expressed to everybody in the city, any dollar that's spent overtime or buying anything relative to this, we want to account for it because we're going to seek reimbursement. I'm going to seek reimbursement for every penny. But in terms of children or adult daycare or seniors, I mean, everything's on the table. And as I expressed all my calls today and my face-to-face, if we don't work together, we're not going to do it the right way, And the fact that there's one confirmed case, 24 hours ago there wasn't, and there is, the days ahead are going to just keep adding to that. And I really think that city council, school committee, mayor, department heads, law enforcement, fire, and the CFO, I mean, he's playing a very integral part of this as well. If we don't keep informing the people that we represent, whatever avenue you do, social media, whatever it is, we need to keep doing it and hammering it home, because this isn't a vacation. I know people are thinking, oh God, my kids don't have to go through, hey, we're all set, summer's coming. No, we have to self-isolate, and we have to. So that'd be my humble request, if, again, we could just keep reiterating that to people, because it's really going to refute the whole purpose if we don't take it serious.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Counselor.
Councilor Monahan?
Yes, one more, Mr. Mayor. I know that the school department and whoever else has to be home now are getting paid, but and I think I heard that the state is going to waive the 1 week period for
Unemployment.
those that are unemployed now. They can all collect unemployment. Do you know the process, what's going on with that?
Yeah, I mean, what I was told and what the governor stated last night, he's waiving the 1 week, which was the application process would take that. They still have to go on the mass.gov website. Anybody that could apply for that would be appropriate for that. I will say that city employees are being paid. The ones that, I think everybody's essential, but some are more essential than others. So the staggered staffs we're having here, they're still going to be compensated. They are. It's the right thing to do.
Right.
But I would only say that if you qualify for it or you believe you qualify for unemployment in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it's all spelled out on the mass.gov website. It's revised.
Okay, so all those that are out, basically all the restaurants and everyone that's being closed now, they're losing. All those that are not working, they should be eligible to get that, I would think, but they're not getting paid. That's the questions I've been
Theory,
getting.
Tom, in theory they would, but
Yeah.
again, I'm not going to say yes, they qualify, they don't. They need to go through the process. What I can tell you is Baker has sped up the process.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All set, councilors? Thank you, Mayor, and thank
Thank
you
you.
again for being here this evening. Thank you to our CFO, and thank you to Chief Gomes for being here this evening. We
Could I just
appreciate
make one more thank you, if you don't mind? I want to thank, I was here Saturday morning at 7 a.m. and Sunday morning at 7 a.m. There was a wonderful collaboration on the school side and city side to clean every single city-owned and school-owned building in Brockton. And if you think about just the library, the magnitude of the library, right, or this building, and I was here, and yeah, people got overtime, but what I stressed in my sincere thanks, but also how serious that job was. And then they thought I left, but I didn't. And I kind of walked around, and I saw people on their hands and knees scrubbing. I haven't seen that in years. So I just want to publicly thank everybody, and I want to thank you, Counselor, because you've been a great partner in this. So thank you very much. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, Counselors, so the few pieces of information. So as you heard this evening, we're also, as far as the City Council, I'm working on moving our meetings to remote meetings, meaning you would be able to phone in. So that's something that we're working on. So I don't know if it'll be done in time for the next meeting, for our City Council meeting. If not, we will, it will be the same as tonight. Otherwise, I'll have a phone number that you can call in. The other, a few things that did come up once again is, yes, as you all heard, and the mayor announced to us, Mr. John McGarry has been appointed as interim director of the Board of Health. So congratulations to him. Thank you to Mrs. Amy Badger for all she did for the months that she was in that position. I did have a conversation with Mr. McGarry, and he is working on updating our Board of Health website for the city of Brockton. But in the meantime, if residents have questions or want information regarding this COVID virus, they can always access the Massachusetts website. And I have the phone number for the Executive Office of Health and Human Services, which is 617-573-1600. People can always ask, call, have questions. I'm sure somebody will be qualified to answer them for them. The other questions I have, our city website is filled with information, so I hope residents at home use that to find out what meetings are still on, what meetings are canceled, postponed. So please visit the City of Brockton's website to update, to find out about updates and cancellations. Two more things before we go. I'd like to wish my husband, who's at home tonight, a very happy birthday. So this is a first, so happy birthday. And thank you. And a happy St. Patty's Day to everybody. I'm sure everybody will still find a way to celebrate tomorrow. So if not, I'm sure they'll be celebrating tonight. Councilor Cruz?
No.
Any councilors have any moments of, need any moments of recognition? No?
I'd just like to say
Councilor
something.
Cardoso?
So I'd just like to say something as a nurse. For folks out there that are not feeling well, please stay home and please call your healthcare provider and not go to the emergency room. Our ERs are inundated with folks and they're super busy, so it's best to just call your doctor and they can advise you. That's what I do all day long, is triage and advise folks on what to do. And I can tell you, most folks do not need to go to the hospital. So please stay home, call your doctor if you're not feeling well. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor, and that's true. We heard it from the mayor. People need to really take this seriously. It's a serious issue. Counselor Cruz, your meeting is, I know the mayor announced it, but the meeting is canceled that you have.
Yes, and I am working with the developer to hopefully either have a live presentation on BCA or a website, but I don't have any further information on that. But yes, the March 25th meeting, unfortunately, is canceled.
Okay, thank you. With no further business this evening, this meeting's adjourned.